Y'all see that fly? See that fly? Got the salt gun. Oh, I see two flies. Ah. Gotcha. Got blood on the shell too. You give that fly to Cooter. Good day, everybody. Just doing a little fly hunting this morning. Seems we had a little bit of a house fly outbreak. No big deal. We'll just feed them to Cooter. Cooter likes flies. And he was over here just a second ago. I don't see him now, but he will come running if he sees me, that's for sure. Bullhead minnows, a little slider minnow as well. Oh, there's Cooter, basking. What's up, Cooter? We threw there's a dandelion leaf up there, but nobody seems to like that. So you can see how we've got that that light up underneath that hole there. That holds a lot of heat from that platform. And that's a slate platform, so that's a piece of rock. This is just a piece of rock sitting there with moss on top of it. And eventually, when the turtles get bigger, we'll put a little platform connecting here to here, and they'll be able to crawl up here and bask a little bit higher up. But you can see it's still, you see how much lower the pond is from the plants. So this is to keep any type of fish splash in water, but even though that wouldn't matter to me, because I mean I can water with this water, so there's a little bit of splash, doesn't really care if the fish came up and splashed or whatever, but that hasn't happened. You can see this horseweed, I believe it's called a horsetail weed. It's just going crazy. Since we flipped the light to 20% warm white, I can see a huge difference in these leaves. This is that autoflower that still hasn't flowered yet. She's still going, which is nice. This one over here has started to flower. It actually looks pretty good. I mean, it had a hell of a lot of a stress. You know, we went from 10 hours of light to 16 hours of light, so it actually went from winter to spring. So it really shouldn't even be, it should be doing what it's doing right now. This one, on the other hand, is, I don't know, it's weird. It's got 3 leaves. And it's not, you know, most of the time they start with 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then go to 4 as it grows. This one is just staying at 3, not doing 4. It's like we're doing 3 leaves all the way up. You know, it's like this here. You got 3, and then they'll go to 4, and then they'll go to 5 and 6 and on up. As they grow, they'll get more fingers. But for some reason that autoflower is not, not growing extra fingers. This one here we just stuck in there because it wasn't doing very well in a pot, and we've definitely getting growth. I mean, it's not going to do anything, but I just wanted to leave it there just to get some roots into this section here. This is another autoflower. It's only maybe a week from seed. We don't have much nutrient in this soil. That's why it's not growing very fast. I'm trying to wait take it outdoors. Once we get, hopefully this next week, we'll be able to take these plants outside. We're going to take this one and this one outside and plant them in our beds outdoors. These are both feminized. And these plants here are starting to, hopefully, we just removed, you know, the plastic pots maybe 3 days ago, I think. So I believe these roots here are just now starting to get into the soil. We're going to start seeing some growth. It takes about 2 weeks, I've noticed, for these plants. Once they're transferred into the bed, it takes them a little bit of time to get their roots established. But once they get established, you can see the ones that establish first are the ones that just take off. And the ones that take a little bit more time aren't as healthy. Just, yeah, they take a little bit more time. This one is definitely going to be pretty. We hope it's a female. We have not discussed whose genetics they are or any genetics at this time. I'm going to wait until I find out what's male and what's female. We can cut out the males, and once we figure out exactly what's going to be here, well, I don't let anybody down by having to cut plants down, especially myself. I like to get attached to my plants, so if I'm growing it, I want to grow it all the way through. I don't like killing plants. But we also don't want to waste our time with males. Now that we have a good root set, the last time I let the males run in here, I just wanted to get roots in the soil. I didn't care if they were male, female. I didn't really care. I just wanted to get the roots. I wanted as much photosynthesis going on as possible. So I wanted as much light hitting these leaves. I wanted as much green mass as I could to get that carbon to start building and start these leaves to start photosynthesizing and pushing that carbon down into the soil. I wanted as much as that as possible, because that's what's going to increase the growth of everything, of all the biology. It's that sugar that these plants are creating that is pushing down through their soil, down into the soil, and feeding that microbiology, which is building carbon in the soil. And as long as we don't remove anything from the soil, we just keep building on top, building and building, the soil will keep building down, because soil breaks down. So soil just, you can see it in a compost pile. It will just go from here to here in a couple of months, and that's soil breaking down. That's biology breaking down that matter, that organic matter, which is releasing nutrient, plant available nutrient to the plants. I'm doing the compost method, but I'm doing it right in the bed. So it's just going to be a time thing. It's going to take, a few years for me to build up. Now I started with good. I'm using IMO. I'm using the IMO 3. So I'm breaking down all that organic matter outside first, or right here in this bag first. And then as we cut the plants, we leave the roots and we just cover the bed with what's been lost. So basically what those plants have uptaken, we will replace with IMO 3 and chop and drop method with all the excess vegetation that we have in here. So we'll just keep chopping and dropping. So with the grass, we just chop and drop on top of the hay, on top of the IMO that we've already put in. And we do that all the way through the cycle. And by the end of this cycle, this will be a nice layer of green on top of this brown. And then when we start another cycle, we'll do the same thing, and we'll just keep building. We're not going to amend anything. We're not going to be doing any amendments like crab meal, bone meal, unless the plants tell me I have to. Hopefully we have enough sand, silt, clay, organic matter in the soil, in the bed, for the plants and the biology to break down that sand, silt, and clay
and feed the plants with the nutrients and minerals that are from that sand, silt, and clay, which is how the forest works. You know, we have organic, if you stick a shovel down in the ground, you'll get a nice layer of organic matter, and then you'll get into the soil layer where it's nice and soft and spongy and all the root mass, and then you'll start to get into a little bit of sand and clay, and depending on where you are in the world, there's 20,000 different types of soils. So you just got to figure out what you have around your area. I have sandy, loamy, clay with some organic matter. That's what I have. So I mimicked what I had around here. So if you go outside, if you ever wanted to build something like this outdoors, you know, it's just as simple as digging a hole. But in here, I would have to replicate what I see outside. So if I stuck a shovel down in the ground, I'm going to get organic matter, I'm going to get soil, I'm going to get clay, I'm going to get sand, silt, and I'm going to get bedrock. That's exactly how this bed is set up. So the plant roots are never actually sitting in water. The soil is never sitting in water. Everything's layered. So the water comes over the top of the creek wall, saturates the soil. It's also saturated underneath in the sand, silt, and clay. But the soil is separated from that water, from that reservoir, by the clay, just how it is in nature. So it's that clay layer that separates. As long as you don't have too thick of a clay layer that where it holds water and holds that water up into the soil, that's why that clay layer needs to only be about 1 inch thick. You don't need much, or else that clay layer will become hard pan and hold that water where you want it to go all the way to the bedrock. So that's what keeps your soil from going anaerobic. And it's basically like an earth box. If you're familiar with an earth box, you can buy them at most of your grow stores. That growth box has that plastic layer, that liner underneath. Your soil goes on top of that plastic. The water goes underneath. That plastic liner separates the two. Your roots can go down. And it's basically a dual root zone. So you'll have your soil on top and your water reservoir on the bottom. Only with the earth box you don't get the biology. You're not getting the actual microorganisms that come along with creek water, come along with the aquatic biology. It's unknown territory here, so it's very hard for me to explain what's actually going on because nobody really knows what's really going on. They're still learning. Scientists only know about 2% of what's actually going on in the soil. So we know the basics, and that's what we are going to focus on, is the basics of how plants react to different microclimates, because we have multiple different microclimates. So this thing here, this pulse meter, it's giving me a really good overall view, but over in that corner could be 10% higher in humidity than it is over in this corner. Just because I have that rock wall, I have the air blowing towards it, it's circulating around, where over here it is not. So it's going to be more humid down here closer to the creek than it is up here at the top of the canopy. So all these little things play a role, just like outdoors. So that's what we're learning here, and that's what I hope to find out. Just over time, I'll be able to see the changes, learn what I have to fix in order to keep the system balanced. So we're basically just going to have to steward it from here, just a steward. So I know I have to come through here and dredge, keep some of this organic matter off the edges because it just wicks too much water, and I'll start getting water in my hole over there. So yeah, it's just the little things. But so far, everything's been humming along. The new lights, the Grandmaster LEDs are huge. You know, we upped now we can play with spectrums. We got the cool white. We've got the warm white on now. Then we're going to be hitting them with the red and the far reds. But when I say warm white and cool white, that actually has the yellows and the greens and all the different spectrum, the full spectrum. I'll show you. This is just one. This will be week 3. So the blue, and then we have the whatever that is, the greens and the yellows. So they're still there. We're just up in the ante. So whereas on week 1 it was at 100%, and then this was at 0%, which was, it's still some light there, but it's really dim. And then we add that as we go through the seasons, basically. And I'm really looking forward to them getting that UV. So they're going to be getting UVA and UVB, where we can kick some UV in the morning and some UV at night. And that is going to really make a big difference in quality and taste and flavor, because UVA and UVB is required in nature. That's what's giving us our secondary metabolites. That's what gives us that stress those plants need to produce those secondary metabolites that produce that flavor and that smell. And I think we're going to see a game changer when we add the UV. But that's today's walk around. I appreciate everybody following and liking and sharing. And we'll see you tomorrow.